Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Top 10 College Basketball Teams. I'm Maxwell Smart, and we are going to talk about teams that are not only going to fill our pockets, they're going to warm our hearts. So let's start off with a team that could work its way into the top 10 by the end of the season, but has a lot of question marks and the good kind of questions to answer. Arkansas Razorbacks. This is a team led by Eric Musselman, who's done a wonderful job once again on the transfer market, bringing in a variety of pieces and key contributors. Guys that they brought in included the likes of Chris Likes from Miami, DZ Tony from Pittsburgh, Stanley Yamuti from South Dakota, and who already redshirted, has been in the program, been practicing with the team, one of my favorite, Kamani Johnson, formerly from Little Rock University. The key for Arkansas this year is going to be to stay versatile. They're losing Justin Smith. They're losing Moses Moody, who were very good defensive and isolation type players. But that is something that Arkansas is moving away from. Less and less isolation, better facilitation on the floor, multiple ball handlers on the floor at the same time, making it almost impossible for defenses to choose who they go after, who they try and stop, and who they let get their offense. So with Arkansas, you have a lot of existing pieces already. You have Devontae Davis, you have Jalen Williams, you have JD Note, Connor Vanover, the 7'3" center. So you have some definite talent already existing. It's just going to be a matter of how quickly you can acclimate and build that to on-court chemistry. I think that with the style of play and the way that these guys can finish at the rim schematically and personnel-wise, Arkansas is going to be a solid team for us to back. There's going to be many situations in the non-conference when it comes to their totals. And I think that once we get into the conference play, as long as they can stay healthy, I think that they are going to have some good value as an underdog on the road in the SEC. I think that when you look at Arkansas, this is a defense that probably is going to take a step back, and they're going to have to just do some fundamental things correct to achieve the goal of dominating and winning in the SEC, which is definitely not a soft conference. So I think with Arkansas, it's really going to be about getting that rim protection from Jalen Williams, getting that rim protection from Connor Vanover, and keeping them on the floor and being productive. I think that when you look at guys closing out on perimeter shooters, that's going to be a guy like JD Note. That's going to be a guy like Devontae Davis, who are both ball hawking perimeter defenders, and look for them to grow and develop another year and confidence in this Eric Musselman system. And I think that when you look at this defense, that is where the majority of the question marks lay. I think that at the end of the day, given the coaching staff, the quality of personnel, you will see improvements throughout the season. I think that when you look at this Arkansas team, they're a team that definitely are on people's radars, but I still think that because of the losses of last year, they're being looked at with a little bit of a grain of salt. I think that this is easily a top 25 team, and I think that they're going to be a top 10 by the end of it. So look out for Arkansas. Eric Musselman has it revving and rolling over there, and I'll tell you, the cupcakes are bougie and they're plentiful. Now, let's move on to the next team in the Pub Sports Radio Top 10. And this is a team that a lot of people are going to be like, maybe not top 10, but definitely top quality. And that is Illinois. Illinois, led by Coach Brad Underwood, is a team that definitely has a lot to work on this year. They lose some very critical pieces, but this is a team that definitely has guys on the come up. When you look at that roster from a personnel perspective, you do see some strengths. You see some strengths in the front court. You see some strengths when it comes to perimeter shooting. And that is what Illinois is definitely going to be able to capitalize and dominate teams, whether it be in the non-conference or the Big Ten. I think that when you bring in a guy like Alfonso Plummer from Utah, who averaged 13.6 points, 2.2 rebounds, and an assist a game, that's a guy that's a high volume shooter. That's a guy that can get you 20 or 30 any given night. And I expect multiple nights for Alfonso Plummer to do that in an Illinois uniform. I think that when you look at the fact that they brought in someone that can back up Kofi Cockburn in case he does get injured and give you some rim protection while he serves his 3-game suspension for selling some apparel, apparently. So it's nonsense. There's no reason why a guy that could be as dominant as Shaq is sitting the first 3 games of this year. But Illinois will be fine. Illinois has brought in Omar Payne from Florida, the 6'10 junior. While his numbers didn't pop out to you on the score sheet, he's definitely a guy that brings a level of toughness. He's going to make Kofi better in practice, and you're going to see a definite improvement in his game-to-game production playing at Illinois. When we look at this perimeter offense, this is where they're going to have to really make strides. They got to replace a lot of playmaking. With Ayo Dosunmu leaving and going to the NBA, he's the guy that really created and facilitated a lot of offense using his dribble drive, his kick and drives. So Illinois definitely will not be as potent offensively, but they have the catalyst of 3-point shooters, whether it be DeMonte Williams, whether it be Trent Frazier, Austin Hutcherson can shoot the 3. There's a lot of perimeter attackers. So I think that with Illinois, you just got to make sure that you're getting that good ball movement and you keep that hot shooting. And that's something with Andre Curbelo running the point. I expect him to take a super leap in development and prestige. So when you look at Curbelo, this is a guy that did average 9.1 points per game, 4.0 rebounds, and 4.2 assists, and almost a steal. He's going to need to step that up. He's going to need to really be the penny to Kofi Cockburn Shaq. And I think that this could be one of the most dominant big men point guard tandems in college basketball this year. So definitely something that you want to watch and see develop, and also, of course, help take care of your bankroll with that kind of production. I think that when we look at Illinois, rim protection is definitely going to be a strength. Backcourt depth is going to be a strength. And as long as the front court can remain physical and remain out of foul trouble, it is going to be difficult to get to the rim and score at the rim versus this defense. I think that what we've seen from Coach Underwood schematically has been less full court press, more prevention of 3-point attempts, and just sicking his perimeter ball hawks onto ball handlers and forcing those turnovers, getting out into transition. Illinois is definitely a team that a lot of people will be down on compared to what they were doing last year, but don't be surprised if they finish in that top 10. So Illinois is definitely a solid fundamental team, great coached, great big men, good point guard with a lot of room to grow. So look out for Illinois. They'll be fucking with their eyes open. We'll move on next to a team in the Lone Star State, the state where they make better steak, apparently. And the Houston Cougars play there. So as you can see, I am rocking a Houston Cougar dry fit right now. And that's because Calvin Sampson has this team playing Houston Cougar Calvin Sampson basketball. Listen, there's no doubting that losing a guy like DeJon Jarreau is a big loss to the program. I think that they brought in the right personnel and pieces to offset that. It is definitely important to acknowledge this is not going to be a Houston team that scores as proficiently as they did last year. When you take away Quentin Grimes and DeJon Jarreau, and then even Justin Gorman, Breon Gresham's offensive rebounding abilities, it's definitely going to be something that we have to temper our expectations. But the one thing that won't change about Houston Cougar basketball is Houston Cougar offensive rebounding, physicality, and using that defense to really create offense. So I think that they've done a really good job of bringing guys in that fit the mold of the program, fit the scheme and style of guys that they want rocking that Cougar red and white. And with Kyler Edwards coming in from Texas Tech, that is a guy that is a double-digit scorer. He can give you 5 rebounds a game. He's going to give you a steal or two. And I expect him to really play a starring role beside Marcus Sasser in this Houston lineup. I do like the move that they made. They brought in Taze Moore from Cal State Bakersfield. This is a guy that is no DeJon Jarreau, but he's a guy that has that same kind of length, that same kind of defensive ferocity, and he can give you some good ball handling. Now, this is a little sensitive to me being a UConn fan, but Coach Sampson did himself a solid by going on to the transfer market and poaching one of the guys from my UConn Huskies, Josh Carlton. Now, Josh Carlton is a guy that I think is going to play a very critical role. He had his role decreased at UConn. You saw the writing on the wall. He needed a change of scenery. Well, he's come to a place where he's going to fit in very well defensively and from a rebounding schematic purpose. The one thing that I like about this Houston team, which I think is going to get them a lot of extra points, is their ability to get on the offensive glass. This is a team that, by my count, has 4 or 5 guys that could average 5+ rebounds a game easily. And that means probably 2 offensive rebounds a game. When you look at Jawan Roberts, when you look at freshman Javier Francis, these are guys that are going to work their way into the rotation. And if Fabian White and Reggie Chaney and Josh Carlton aren't on point, you're going to be seeing these guys dominate on the offensive glass. I think that when it comes down to Houston, what we're really going to have to figure out is, can this hyperactive, competitive, 100% effort, physical type of defense work, and can they score enough to win games and cash tickets? I think that they're going to be able to score enough. I think they're going to be able to use that defense to cash tickets, because when you play that swarming man-to-man defense, you don't allow drivers, you don't allow post-ups. And when you can go on the offensive glass and extend possessions, give yourself extra shot attempts. That's how Houston made their money, because let's be brutally honest, they don't have the scores right now unless Tremont Mark and Marcus Sasser are both going to be 15 to 16 point per game guys. I think Sasser will be. I'm not sure about Mark. When it comes down to it, I think that we're going to see Houston. They're going to freaking rotate and force teams to use the clock. They're going to take off balance shots. They're going to be able to dominate on the glass. And if Houston wants to make their defense even more fearsome and ferocious than it already is, they got to do a better job of keeping teams off the free throw line and using that offensive rebound still to kick that ball out to the 3-point line and hopefully have Marcus Sasser be the recipient and dropping threes. So this is a group in Houston that I think that deserves to be in the top 10, isn't there in the preseason polls yet, but for Pub Sports Radios and Maxwell Smart, Houston makes the top 10. Get those cupcakes. All right, now we're going to move on to a team that I don't really like. I don't really like the program, but I got to show respect and I got to freaking bow down to the master, to the enigma that is Coach K in the Duke Blue Devil basketball program. Coach K has absolutely been fantastic. There's no other way to freaking describe it. He has done everything that you could want as a coach in college basketball. And I think that he's going to get a very good performance from his group on his farewell tour. Not only has he found a fantastic replacement in John Shire to take over for him, he has also locked in his number 1 recruiting assistant coach to take over for him. So the quality of recruits probably will not dip off that much. But of course, losing Coach K is losing Coach K. With this version of the Duke Blue Devil team, it's a very young team. You only have probably 2 or 3 seniors that you're going to see getting key rotation minutes. And aside from that, you're going to be relying on sophomores and freshmen. Now, this is not ideal for Coach K, but Coach K has definitely made his money taking these young men, molding them, and turning it into an ACC championship and possibly something further in the tournament. I think that with Duke, you have some definite strengths, but you have some definite weaknesses. Paolo Banchero, the 6'9", 5-star freshman, is a guy that you need to focus and center this offense around. You need to definitely get him lots of space to operate. You got to play him on the wing. You got to play him as a second big, and playing as a second big alongside Mark Williams could be the recipe for the most success for Banchero. This is a guy that has good length. He has good defensive ability. He has good footwork. So his feet are not going to get him in trouble, into foul trouble. And playing alongside a equally long and dangerous AJ Griffin will not only give him that security, it will give him that confidence to do a little more. I do worry about Duke if they get some injuries, but the main concern, which is just glaring looking at this roster, is they don't shoot the three ball well. Wendell Moore, Jeremy Roach, not very good three-point shooters, not 40% guys, and you need a couple of those guys when you're playing these ACC offenses and the Duke Blue Devils schedule. They start the season off with Kentucky. They need three-point shooting, and I just don't see where it's going to come from. Trevor Keels is a guy that could be that next elite three-point shooter, but at 6'5", he's more known for his strength, ability to defend, and his understanding of defensive scheme. So that's going to be the key for this Duke team this year, in my estimations. I think that without improving the three-point shooting, they're going to have to win with length. They're going to have to win with the stingiest defense that they've run out in the last 10 years. I think that it's very possible for this to happen. I think that when you welcome in the kind of 5-star recruits that can literally school Chet Holmgren, I think that you're in a good position. Aside from that, if Wendell Moore and guys like freaking Jeremy Roach do not step up from the perimeter, Duke is going to have some troubles early. But by the end of it, I think that this defense is going to be leading the way. I think that they'll do just enough on offense. And when you got Mark Williams down low in the middle, everything's Hakuna Matata. So farewell, Coach K. Let's get you some wins. Let's get you an ACC title to end it. All right, let's move on to a team that, let's be brutally honest, I didn't watch a lot during the regular season. I only started paying attention to in the Pac-12 tournament, and that's because they're coached by Mick Cronin. They are the UCLA Bruins. And Mick Cronin, if you didn't remember, he's a redhead. He could be touched by the devil. He could be the devil's spawn. But you know what? He's done a fantastic job of implementing his defensive scheme and getting guys that want to play his style of play. And I think with UCLA, there is going to be some regression, but this is a UCLA team that deserves to be in the top 10. They deserve to be recognized. And with an offense as solid as they have, it's hard to deny. I think that with losing key pieces in your on your wing spots definitely do not help. You lost Chris Smith, you lost Jalen Hill, but you brought in 5-star recruit Peyton Watson, who could very well start from day one. And you brought in Miles Johnson from Rutgers. And if you've watched East Coast basketball, you definitely know about Miles Johnson. Guy's smart as hell, and he's just as physical and gifted basketball player. But when it comes to UCLA's success, UCLA is going to have to play physical. They're going to have to be gritty, and they're going to have to win on the defensive glass. If they can limit shots near the rim with the combination of playing Miles Johnson and Cody Riley separately and together, it is just going to connect what Mick Cronin wants his team to do on defense that much more. With Jaime Jaquez, this is a defensive player of the year candidate. This is a guy that is a glue defensive player, and I expect him to take a major step forward and be leading this team in multiple categories this year. This is a guy that averaged 12.1 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game, and an assist and a steal. I expect those numbers to take a big jump. I expect him to get more playing time. And I expect it to come at the cost of Jules Bernard. Jules Bernard last year was as solid of a starter as you can get without knowing that he was a starter. He gave you 10 and 5. And I believe this year he's going to be asked to come off the bench. Him and David Singleton, and to an extent, Jake Kyman, are going to play a big role in how far this UCLA team goes. They need that pine to get some production and contribute on a nightly basis. And I think that they're going to. When we look at UCLA, this is a team that definitely is going to score a lot of three-point shots. They're going to score a lot in the ISO situation, and that's Johnny Juzang's game. Johnny averaged 15 and a half points per game, 4 rebounds, and assists, and almost a steal. Coming over from Kentucky, definitely thought that the expectations were high, but how high can they go? And I think that they can go higher. The key for UCLA is point guard play. And with Tiger Campbell returning for his redshirt junior year, he is definitely the kind of point guard that you want running this Mick Cronin system, which is a lot of half-court offense and a lot of ISO situations. I think that when you force defenses to do what you want, like UCLA does, it allows them to really cancel out and not take advantage of those transition scoring opportunities. I think that at the end of the day, UCLA is going to be able to dominate in a conference where they only have 2 or 3 legitimate contenders to rival against. And the addition of Miles Johnson is going to pay heavy dividends. I think that this team can win ugly. They can win in a high scoring game. And as long as the defense doesn't take a major step backwards, I think that UCLA is going to be in the cupcakes and serving cock soup to their books. Well, that wraps up the first half of the Pub Sports Radio Top 10 College Basketball Countdown. Make sure you tune in to the next 5 teams because they're going to be special. They're going to be profitable. They're going to be bougie cupcake worthy. Check it out.